Amidst a torrent of controversy that runs deeper than Niagara Falls, it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship. On the line, the heavyweight title between undefeated Mark the Hammer Coleman, a two-time UFC champion who's 5-0 in the octagon, and Dan the Beast Severn, winner of UFC 5 and Ultimate 95. Also tonight, two separate tournaments, the heavyweight division and the lightweight division for guys under 200 pounds. Get ready for the most intense mixed martial arts contest on the planet. Judgment Day has arrived.
Dothan, Alabama, settled in 1830 by 9 families who moved to southeast Alabama to harvest pine timber. Incorporated in 1885, it was recently voted the #1 place to live in Alabama, and at one time was considered the peanut capital of the world. And welcome to the Dothan Civic Center, which opened in 1975 and serves as the main event center for the Houston County area. It has hosted concerts, boxing, basketball, and tonight welcomes the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and this is Judgment Day. And what a spectacular matchup we have for you. Mark Coleman, the winner of UFC 10 and 11, undefeated in the octagon with a record of 5-0 against Dan Severn, UFC 5 champion, the winner of the Ultimate in 1995. So it is clearly a case of the Hammer versus the Beast. Also tonight, a new wrinkle to the Ultimate Fighting Championship, two separate tournaments. There's the heavyweight tournament for fighters 200 pounds and greater, and the lightweight tournament for fighters 199 pounds or less. So the little man is back, and so is the Beast. My broadcast partner, the 1984 Olympic gold medalist, Greco-Roman wrestling super heavyweight division, Jeff Blatnick. Jeff, what a matchup in the heavyweight championship.
Oh, without a doubt, two master wrestlers. Coleman, a 1992 Olympic wrestler in Barcelona. Dan Severn finished second in the Olympic trials. Both All-Americans in college. Look for that to be a very strong grappling match. Striking goes to Coleman, but I give the edge in finesse in wrestling to Severn.
Jeff, your thoughts on the two separate tournaments, the lightweights and the heavyweights?
Well, I think having two weight classes is a great move for the UFC. You are going to see a tremendous amount of smaller competitors come in to showcase their skills. And when it comes down to a bout between equally skilled athletes, usually the body, the physical training makes the difference. In that way, more weight certainly could give you an advantage.
Well, this place is rocking right now. Let's take a look at the lightweight division for tonight's championship. Newcomer Rainy Martinez, a combination wrestler, boxer, kickboxer, meets submission fighter Jerry Bohlander, who roars out of the lion's den. Then Wallid Ismail, a Vale Tudo stylist from Brazil, who's 5-0 in reality combat competition, battles one of Pancrace's wildest fighters, Yoshiki Takahashi. Then in the heavyweight tournament, North American heavyweight kickboxing champion Jim Mullen meets the Pitbull Scott Ferrozzo, who defeated Tank Abbott in the semifinals of UFC 11. In the bottom of the bracket, two talents, newcomers slugging it out for the first time. Submission fighter Trey Telligman squares off with a Carlson Gracie disciple, Vitor Belfort, a 4-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. And in the main event, the battle for the heavyweight championship, Dan Severn, 9-2 in the octagon, only 2 losses to Shamrock and Gracie, takes on Mark Coleman, who was a winner in UFC 10 and 11, undefeated in the UFC. Now the third member of our broadcast team, a member of NBC's sitcom News Radio, and a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. Right now, let's go to Joe Rogan.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm back here right now backstage. I'll be interviewing the fighters as they come out of the octagon, and I'll also be previewing the fights, the final fights in each weight division. I'll be talking to the fighters. We'll find out who's injured, who's going to be able to continue, and who's going to go in if we need an alternate. Anything we need to know, as soon as I find out, you'll know. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. Our judges tonight include a couple of outstanding men in the martial arts community. Curtis Shearer, a Sambo World Masters champion and a highly respected freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling official.
Jeff Mullen, a former pro kickboxer who now owns Mid-South Karate, where he teaches self-defense at the University of Memphis, and Michael DePasquale, a world-renowned jiu-jitsu expert, publisher and editor of Karate International magazine, and the creator of America Online's martial arts worldwide network. Now, here are the laws of the octagon. No biting, no eye gouging, no fish hooking. The referee has the authority to restart the bout if there is a lack of action. No rounds, but a 12-minute time limit with 1 3-minute overtime in the semis and finals of the tournament. A 15-minute time limit with 2 3-minute overtimes in the heavyweight championship. Here are the ways to win a fight: by knockout, by submission, if the corner throws in a towel, if the referee stops the contest because a fighter cannot intelligently defend himself, by disqualification, or if time expires, 3 judges render a decision. And throughout the evening, we'll have special experts joining us here in the booth. And right now, a man who's known as the master of the octagon, 2-time super fight champion, Ken Shamrock. And Ken, nice to have you with us.
Hey, you know, it's great to be here. You know, you hear this crowd get up in an uproar. You know, it just kind of, it lights, you just gets your adrenaline flowing. It gets you ready for this. It's going to be a great fight tonight.
Coleman and Severn, your thoughts?
This is going to be a tough one because they both have experience in the ring. I think Severn's got more experience. I think Severn's in better shape. So I would have to give the edge to Severn. I think it's going to be a really good fight, and it's going to be touch and go either way. But if I was going to have to pick one, I'd have to go with Severn.
All right, Ken, it's going to be good to hear your thoughts throughout the evening, and we're just about set to go with the double tournament format here in Dothan, Alabama, and also, of course, later tonight, the heavyweight championship. So let's take a look at our opening bout of the evening, and we open up with Jerry Bohlander against Rainy Martinez. We essentially start with 4 in each tournament. This would be then a semifinal
my game
bout.
plan is to fight my fight, not their fight. So they're going to have to do what I want them to do. That's what I plan to do. And if they want to go to the mat, then we're going to have to stand up. If they want to stand up, then we'll go to the mat. We're going to do the opposite of what they want to do.
Here we go, Rainy Martinez making his debut in the octagon. He's from Tucson, Arizona. And he's got experience in boxing, kickboxing, and judo recently, and wrestling as well. A successful amateur wrestler, the Arizona State Wrestling Champion 1980 and 1981. He went into the Navy, became involved in boxing and more martial arts studies.
Well, Rainy Martinez comes from a wrestling background. He is a grappler. He likes takedowns. He will shoot. He's good on the mat. He was an Arizona State high school champion in 1980 and 81, and 9-0 as an amateur kickboxer, so he does have some striking ability.
Jerry Bohlander is his opponent. He's more prepared this time because of his experiences in the octagon. And there's a look at Jerry Bohlander, who comes into the UFC with a 2-1 record overall, a UFC 8 semifinalist, and he feels ready with his experience.
I'm more advanced in everything I do now. I mean, when I went in there the first time, I only had basic skills. I knew the basic submissions. I did have good conditioning, but I couldn't stand up and fight. I was smaller, but now I guess I'm a lot better at my submission. I'm still a good wrestler. I can stand up and fight with somebody, and my body, I can make my body work the way I want it to work now, whereas before I was kind of still in a feeling out process. I didn't exactly, my body wasn't as coordinated as it is now.
He's got a win over Scott Ferrozzo and Fabio Gurgel, and a loss to Gary Big Daddy Goodrich. Jerry Bohlander, 2-1, coming out of the Lion's Den. And Ken Shamrock, you know Bohlander well. You've worked with him throughout the last couple of years. What do you like about him?
Well, you know, Jerry has a big heart, and he really works hard in his training. So I think when he enters this time, I think he's more, like he said, he's more prepared for this fight. He's definitely determined. His joint locks, chokeholds, and takedowns are all coming together. He's becoming a seasoned fighter, and so his experience in the octagon and with his experience in submission, you know, he's going to be a tough guy in this tournament.
And here's a look at the tail of the tape in this opening battle. Submission specialist against the wrestler. Bohlander is the young stud. 199, 195. Remember, both have to be 199 or less. Height about the same. One from California, one from Tucson, Arizona. Our ring announcer, or should I say our octagon announcer, is from Miami, Florida. Let's go to Manny Garcia.
Ladies and gentlemen, SCG Sports Corporation welcomes you to the Dothan Civic Center in beautiful Dothan, Alabama. For the greatest martial arts competition in the world, it is the Ultimate Fighting Championship Judgment Day. Tonight, 10 of the world's top fighters will participate in the most challenging form of mixed martial arts competition, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you will see a four-man tournament for fighters weighing under 200 pounds, where we will be crowning the first ever UFC lightweight tournament champion. You will also see a four-man heavyweight tournament, and of course, the heavyweight main event featuring Dan the Beast Severn versus Mark the Hammer Coleman. The octagon doors are closing. Fight fans around the world, are you ready? Dothan, Alabama, are you ready? Let's get it on!
So we are set to go in the hub of the Wiregrass, Dothan, Alabama. There's a look at Jerry Bohlander, his opponent, Rainy Martinez. Big John McCarthy, third man in the octagon from Corona, California, technical instructor at the LA Police Academy.
Let's get it on!
It is 13th UFC, and we are underway. Bohlander black trunks and Martinez in the blue.
Bohlander will kick. It's one of his better strikes. And Ken, is Bohlander going to feel him out, or is he going to come in, be aggressive, try to take him down?
Bohlander will be aggressive. You know, he's going to take the fight to his opponent as he is now. He'll make the guy do something, and then after he does, Jerry will then get into where he wants to be and then take the fight to him.
Bohlander shoots for a leg and takes down Martinez.
Jerry's in a good position right now. He's a side mount. The guy's trying to choke. He doesn't have another hand sunk in. Jerry right now is just working for balance, so let the guy try and work his way out. Basically right now, he's just trying to get some balance, trying to get control over the guy.
It's obvious that Martinez has some good wrestling background. He was bridging very well, but Bohlander in that top position knows what he's doing, has his own wrestling experience. This is what we call a Turk, hooking that other leg.
Well, if you see the hand over his head, he can go for a hammer lock if he puts the other hand behind the guy's head, like right there. He'll grab the hand, he'll push it down over his head, and he'll look for a hammer lock.
Bohlander says his body is maturing a lot as a fighter as he tries to land that right hand.
He got rolled there, lost his balance a little bit. Martinez is putting up a good fight.
And Bohlander quickly reassumes position on the top.
Oh, you don't want to turn your back.
He's got his hooks in. It's
you don't want to
here.
turn your back. That's it. He's choking out.
That's a tap.
Over. Good job. That was a very experienced fighter right there. You can see the difference between Jerry in this fight than his last fight. He was patient. He worked everything there. Worked in. The guy moved, made a roll. Jerry put the hooks in, finished him off.
A minute 24. Bohlander wins by choke and advances to the finals of the lightweight tournament.
And the inexperience of UFC competition showed with Rainy Martinez when he turned his back to Bohlander. giving him a free shot at applying a chokehold.
Well, you know, you guys have sat here at many tournaments, and you've seen what experience can do inside the octagon. You know, when you walk into the octagon, it itself is very intimidating, not including the crowd cheering and people yelling. It's an intimidating walk from the locker room into the octagon, and once you've been there, the intimidation kind of goes away, and all you focus on is the fight.
All right, let's take another look at Bohlander winning our first bout of the night.
Right here, Jerry sees the guy throwing some kicks, and he'll look, shoot in, try and go for takedown. He blocks pretty well there. Jerry keeps driving into him, and he hooks one leg, and he'll pick it up. He'll pick a single and set him down. After that, what he does is gets a side mount. He loses a bounce a little bit. Randy got a good bridge there and bridged him over. Felt Jerry was off balance. Jerry established himself again, goes back in for the shoot. Like I said in the beginning, Jerry will be aggressive. He will come after you. The finishing hold, rear naked choke.
So there's the victory to Jerry Bohlander. He's standing by with Joe Rogan.
I'm here with Jerry Bohlander. Jerry, a very impressive victory. Your experience is really showing.
Thanks. Yeah, the experience has helped a lot. I think it made the other guy a bit nervous. He didn't seem seemed kind of tentative out there. Didn't want to take any offense to me, so I took it to him.
How nice is it after all your bouts in the UFC to finally be fighting guys your own size?
It's nice because it gives me a chance to try out some technique. I think I got a little jittery out there because I don't know, I just wanted to win that match bad. So.
You didn't look jittery. You look great, man. Congratulations and good luck. Back to you guys.
So a minute 24, Bohlander wins over Rainy Martinez, who was trained by Don Fry and Becky Levi. So he came from a very good stock in terms of training. But Bohlander comes away with the victory here in Dothan, Alabama, in the southeastern corner of the state, about 85 miles from Panama City and about 90 miles from Montgomery, Alabama. Our next bout coming up in the lightweight tournament, Wallid Ismail taking on Yoshiki Takahashi. So it's Valley Tudo against Pancrase. Ismail coming into this battle. His thoughts on going up against Takahashi.
Eu quero dizer o seguinte, para mim é uma guerra.
I usually say that for me it's a war.
Não um jogo.
Not a game.
Então todos vão ver como eu treinei duro, que só Deus sabe como eu treinei.
How I train hard, because only God knows about it.
Ismail from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 5-0 in reality combat, the current Japanese lightweight Valley Tudo champion, an 8-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, a stablemate of Vitor Belfort, and he is known as a ferocious guy. Awaiting the entrance of Ismail.
This is another Carlson Gracie disciple. Once you become an associate of the Gracie family, you stick with them. Carlson Gracie, his mentor.
Kenny, where is he?
Well, I tell you, this guy's pretty good. I've seen some of his fights before. He's got great balance. He's strong. I don't know where he's at. Maybe he's waiting for his time to walk out.
We see this in boxing very often, where one guy makes the other guy think about it, doesn't want to come out of his locker room early enough. And that's maybe a classic example.
Well, I think, you'll notice how the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys are. They got their own agenda, They fight for themselves. They fight for honor. And as people seen in the world, they are very good at what they do. You got to give them their respect. And I think this is just another thing where, this is his thing, and he will come out when he's ready. And, I guess that's what we're waiting for. Maybe he wants to shock the crowd as he thinks he's going to shock the world tonight.
Well, he claims to be very aggressive, has tremendous focus, and the experts say that he has a stare that makes people shudder, and you can see a little bit of that in that interview leading up to this moment.
Well, we see the lights popping out. Is he making his way to the ring, or are we still doing the waiting game thing, the psych?
Let's talk a little bit about his discipline, Jeff.
He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert. He will strike, but he is basically a master of submission. And what we have learned at the UFC is you have to be well-rounded. Polish the whole stone, not just one face of it.
This reminds me of Michael Spinks against Tyson at Madison Square Garden.
I don't know. We're talking a little bit about a different thing here. You know, like I said, his opponent is Takahashi, and I know a little bit about him also. But Ismail, like I said, I've seen him fight. He's very good, but he will be tested in this fight.
That fight was actually in Atlantic City, but here is the delay. We are still waiting for Wallid Ismail. The music continues to play, and we have never experienced this in the UFC, but then again, this is the UFC, where the only thing you can expect is the unexpected.
Well, you can expect a fight, that's for sure, but you know, a lot of things that go around the UFC is unpredictable, and that's why it makes this event so great, is that people do not know what to expect.
It's jiu-jitsu against pancrase, the first pancrase fighter, other than, of course, Ken Shamrock, that we're really going to see in the octagon. You can see the age about the same. Takahashi with the weight advantage. One is from Japan and one is from Brazil, which clearly points out, Ken, the international nature of the UFC. And finally, here he comes after the long wait.
What a sight, what a sight. I was ready. There's that stare that you're talking about, you know, determined. He's been around this type of event before, so he's a very seasoned fighter. He knows what to expect, but hey, he hasn't been in the octagon before, and here is where he has to make his reputation.
Wallid Ismail from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, trained by Carlson Gracie, considered one of the best in the world.
Yes, you know, like I said, I've seen a lot of the jiu-jitsu stylists, and a lot of guys have come in here and failed, and a lot of them have succeeded. But, you know, like I said before, Ismail is a good fighter. He's been trained under Carlson Gracie, who is one of the best. But, you know, to step in the octagon, it doesn't matter what reputation you had before, you have to prove it here in the octagon. This is the truth.
His opponent, Yoshiki Takahashi. Takahashi from the world of pancrase, his first UFC.
I consider my opponent to be wild and dangerous. People consider me wild and dangerous. My biggest challenge to be mentally in control.
This guy is tough.
This guy is tough. He went 20 minutes with you.
And I hit him with some good shots, and this kid won't go down. I'll tell you what, he's a tough kid, and what you will expect from Takahashi is that he will come after you. He will be up, and I think his tactic here, if I know Takahashi, he's going to try and hit and punch Ismail. He's going to keep away, not go to the ground, and try and knock him out.
Exactly. Both have great grappling backgrounds, but both have the reputation of going toe-to-toe and slugging it out.
Yeah, his discipline, you know, is a takedown to submission, evasive, manipulation, submission, power striking, and fight standing up. I tell you, his strongest asset, though, is his heart and his will to win.
He is known as a loose cannon. Yoshiki Takahashi. For the formal introduction of the fighters, let's go up to Manny Garcia.
Introducing first and standing to my left, representing the art of Carl's Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He is an 8-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, originally from Rio de Janeiro, but currently fighting out of Hollywood, California. He is undefeated in Jiu-Jitsu contests with over 300 victories. He is 5-0 in reality combat fighting, 28 years old, standing 5 feet 7 inches tall, and weighing 182 pounds. He is current, the Japanese lightweight Vale Todo champion, Valicho Ismail. His opponent, to my right, a shoot fighter with a 10-5-1 submission record. He is currently ranked in the top 10 in pancrase, an international amateur wrestling champion before turning pro. He is 27 years old, 5 foot 9 inches tall, and weighing in at 195 pounds, fighting out of Chiba, Japan, Yoshiki Takahashi.
This one could be interesting. Ismail against Takahashi. And look at the intense glare from Ismail.
Yeah, Ismail is really intense, and Takahashi looks really relaxed.
Back in the corner. Get back
but
in the
I think when
corner
the bell
right
rings, you're going to see
now.
Takahashi get on his horse and be moving and be throwing strikes and kicks, and Ismail wants to take him down.
Here we go. in this international slugfest.
They're going to feel each other out for a few minutes because I think Ismail knows a little bit about Takahashi, and he's not going to make a mistake with him. Takahashi knows a lot about Ismail, and he understands his thing on the ground. So
slowly getting closer. The hands are now touching at arm's length.
Yeah, I think you're going to expect something to happen soon here. Ismail don't look like he's going to be too patient.
Takahashi with a big right hand.
Oh, and a nice little throw by there.
Takahashi winging rights.
Takahashi's a strong kid.
This is wrestling here. Pure wrestling.
Takahashi knew this is his first time. As you know, you can use elbows, but he don't understand that.
They've got 750 square feet of space in the octagon to negotiate.
Yeah, as you see, Takahashi's using the fence leverage. He has studied some of that, so he can use elbows right here if he wanted to, but you know, like the experience, you know, he hasn't been there before.
He might not know he can rain him down from there.
It's difficult your first time out. There's a lot of things that you can do that you, once you get started, you don't realize it until you look at the tape and go, wow, you know, there he goes. There's one. Takahashi, he's in great shape, and you'll see him go the full all out all the time.
12 minutes, 3-minute overtime if needed.
Takahashi does look relaxed, but he's got both legs going to be coming out from under him now. He's hanging on to the fence, but it appears as though Wallid, Ismail here will have an opportunity to perhaps put him down on the ground, and that would suit the Brazilian.
Yeah, Takahashi's kind of turned his back. It's not a good position to be in right there, because if Ismail gets his head out of there and starts to go to the rear, he's in a good shape. He'll get between Takahashi and the fence.
Hanging on to the legs. As you can see, Carlson Gracie was sent back to his corner, by the way. He came all the way over where the action was.
And Ismail slowly doing his job of trying to bring Takahashi down.
And he's a good spot to be in right there for Takahashi.
Back to his feet.
But he won't get Takahashi with a rear choke very easily because, as I said, they've trained in this for a long time. And this is going to turn out to be one of those technical battles. It's going to be a very difficult task, even when they hit the mat.
McCarthy warning Takahashi not to hang on to the octagon fence.
You can do it momentarily, but to hang on to stop action, then John will intervene.
Yeah, you know, and Takahashi's using it for a little leverage to hold himself up. And Ismail's spending a lot of energy trying to pull him out.
And McCarthy grabbed Takahashi's right hand and pulled it off as Ismail takes him down.
It's not a good spot right there.
And Takahashi back to his feet. Oh, the Japanese competitor refusing to back down.
You'll see Takahashi take his time. He's in good shape. Ismail struggled for that, and I think that's kind of a sight for Ismail, and it's good for Takahashi. That was a booster for Takahashi.
Well, if Takahashi has to stay in control mentally, he was able to absorb the big weight, the big psych job to start this out, and he repelled Ismail's first really true offensive threat, and that's a strength.
3 minutes and 20 seconds in. Back to their feet, momentarily rested. Takahashi landing a right hand and another one. He loves to throw punches.
Takahashi don't know that when a guy gets knocked down that you can keep hitting him because he pointed the referee. He went down.
Are those pancreas rules?
Yeah, when a guy gets hit, he goes to the mat, you know, you get a count. So he didn't understand that at first. And, you know, for Ismail, his strong thing, he has to get Takahashi down. I think he used most of the energy trying to get him down that first tie.
Without a doubt, he was the one trying, and he's the one that came away frustrated, and that does add to the fatigue factor. And I really like Takahashi's motion. Very smooth, able to get out of the way of those lunging punches of Ismail, and Ismail eats a right hand.
Ismail's fighting Takahashi's game. You see him play in the middle, saying, come on, I'm not going to go around with you. Box me. Go ahead, take a swing at me. And when he does, Takahashi counters.
Ismail's got to find a way of getting Takahashi down without absorbing punishment.
As you see, Takahashi's very comfortable on his feet, but I'll tell you, the guy can grapple on the ground also, but he's taking Ismail out of his game plan. He wants to stand up, he wants to knock him out.
Great focus on the part of Takahashi.
Well, you know, he's been training for this, I would say, probably 6 to 8 months. Like I said, Japanese are very determined in things, and they don't just jump into something. They study and they train for it.
Jeff, how does Ismail get Takahashi on the ground?
Well, certainly he would like Takahashi to take the lead and be aggressive, and that's really where grapplers get the big advantage, because when you lunge with a punch, you get extended, and when you try to regather yourself, your opponent follows you in and takes you down.
Ismail, you know, Takahashi wrestled in high school, and he was a state champion in Japan, so he has that wrestling background.
He has a lot of wrestling background, and it shows as he's able to repel Ismail's attacks.
He's not letting Ismail get up around his waist. He'll let him catch his legs sometime, but he will not get into the waist.
Again, McCarthy getting the left hand of Takahashi off of the octagon fence.
Single leg, and the fence is what's holding Takahashi up. The fence is holding him up.
Great balance there by Takahashi. Somehow, he stayed up, and McCarthy continues to warn him.
As you can see, Takahashi reached down for the cup underneath the trunks, and he's pulling up on man. That way, what that does is Ismail can't sink his hips down and try and toss it to the side. He keeps his waist up. He's very uncomfortable at that.
Almost 6 minutes in. 12-minute time limit, 1 3-minute overtime, then we go to the judges' scorecard.
Well, right now, I would see Ismail as the aggressor and Takahashi as a counter, but Takahashi's landing more punches, so this will be difficult at this point.
The referee can intervene here in that there's no action, and he might very well break this and start it again in the center. Ismail here, because they're leaning against the fence, isn't blowing too much energy, but it's certainly more than Takahashi. And again, the Brazilian strength is grappling, trying to get to the ground, and the more Takahashi is able to repel it, the more he's taking himself out of the game.
And they're both up on 1 foot right now.
Ismail's leaning into Takahashi, posting up against the fence. But Ismail was actually in the worst position because Takahashi has the leverage with his back up against the fence. As you see right now, Takahashi's completely pulled his cup out from his shorts. And right there, Ismail's head is down. Actually, he's the one doing most of the work there, and he's breathing hard for it because when your head's stuck like that, you can't get the oxygen you need.
And Takahashi punched to the groin there after he pulled the cup out.
Hey, you know, everybody has their own ways of doing things, you know. And the laws of the octagon, you know, some people do other things. Myself, I wouldn't take that approach, but, you know, to each his own.
There's nothing in the rules that says no cup grabbing.
No, it's the first time we've ever seen this.
You know, when you step in there, you want something to protect you, and so what we use is what we call a Muay Thai cup, which is a string that ties together so a guy cannot pull your cup off like that. With the kind he has, it's just made out of material, and you can pull it and rip it as it did there.
Takahashi with a quick knee off the fence, and another short knee.
This is a very technical battle.
Yeah, Ismail is just sticking to the grind, hold, and don't give distance for Takahashi to strike. And Takahashi's doing what he can to try to keep himself from going down to the ground. So this is classic now, grappler versus striker. This is the kind of game that you'll see when those two kinds of skills meet up.
Yeah, what you have to understand is Takahashi, when he does go to the ground, you'll see he does have submission skills on the ground. He just prefers not to pull it like
beautiful ankle pick. What a great counter.
Beautiful move by Takahashi.
Watch him go for a leg submission.
And now for the first time, Takahashi landing the right hand from the ground.
This is not where Takahashi wants to be.
Ismail's in the guard. This is the Brazilian strong suit here. Takahashi needs to be careful in his aggressiveness or he can leave some openings for the Brazilian to go ahead and apply either a choke or a submission lock.
But you know, Takahashi, as you see, he did that ankle pick and it shows that he does have ground experience. You'll see as he's on the ground, you'll see his balance. Ismail will have a hard time turning him if he can turn him.
Takahashi got a left hand and he landed it squarely on the face of Ismail.
Nice headbutt there as well.
He'll work, and Ismail needs to keep his face guarded because Takahashi's he hit several times with a couple punches and 2 headbutts.
Takahashi showing us his strength right here.
So much of infighting because you can't get the big looping blows in or short, crisp, or try to clear an arm and just get one shot. And that's all you really have the opportunity to do.
I see some blood coming down Ismail's face. I don't know whether he's cut on the cheek or whether it's nose or what, but he has some blood there.
And those headbutts are adding up on his nose. He's getting headbutted towards the nose.
And that's when you get here square in the nose, you know, that takes a lot out of you.
Takahashi again with a short headbutt.
That's a good punch right there. You heard the nice little short right hand, or left hand.
And Jeff, I know you said Ismail would like to be in this position of the guard, but Takahashi looks very comfortable.
Yeah, Takahashi's been here many, many times before, and he's okay. He's comfortable here, as is Ismail comfortable where he's at. But right now, Ismail's taking the worst.
Well, the wrestling background of Takahashi will certainly give him the ability to ride. Ismail will not be able to just simply reverse him. His ground fighting and balance are obviously honed from his wrestling background, and that certainly will allow him to go ahead and stay on top of Ismail.
Ismail, you've seen him throw those punches. He has nothing on those punches. His arms look like they're spaghetti.
And Takahashi's starting to get through the arms of Ismail and starting to connect a bit.
Takahashi landing a left elbow as well. He's got a 14-pound advantage, and he's using it right now on this ride.
Well, the time is starting to get along now, and you'd have to start to think this may go to the cards, and who's up on the cards, and one would have to think Takahashi at this point.
We were talking earlier in the fight that I had Ismail as the aggressor and Takahashi as the defender, and at that point, I had Ismail ahead, but as soon as they went to the ground where Ismail wanted to go, Takahashi took over the fight because he's landed punches and headbutts.
And certainly controlled the action on the ground.
A little bit over a minute left in regulation, then we'll have a 3-minute overtime if needed. And they will start from their feet.
1 minute left. Regulation time.
And Takahashi has done the majority of the damage. Headbutts, short punches.
As you see right now, Ismail's getting into a bad situation because his head is going to be posted up against that fence, and when that happens, you can't move away from the punches.
Another short headbutt and a couple of short left hands landed by Takahashi.
Yeah, he's shooting those in there not to hurt, but to count points because, let's face it, he doesn't have nothing to wind up on because he doesn't have the position, so he's throwing those short ones in there to irritate him, but also it looks good for the judges.
Well, Ismail is a master grappler, but right now it is Takahashi who has the better of the action on the mat. Coming up in overtime in 15 seconds.
And this is going to go to the overtime bout. Ismail is not going to submit here. Takahashi really won't have the opportunity to knock him out and make him submit. So we're going to overtime, and they'll get back to their feet.
And it definitely favors Takahashi.
Absolutely. As Takahashi stands up and flexes. Hey, he's pumped. You will see in the overtime. I bet you see Takahashi with a lot of punches. He'll go after him.
He may not know there's an overtime.
There's an overtime. I know there's
3-minute overtime.
There's a 3-minute overtime.
He knows. He just looked down at Shamrock and said he knows.
3-minute overtime.
3 minutes left. He's got 1 minute
So, he needs to psych up. Takahashi, he has a mental battle that he feels he just won. He is now focused, and he's up, and Ismail doesn't look like...
Tell him 3 minutes.
I don't think he knows there's an overtime.
3 minutes, okay, you okay?
He knows.
Don't hold the fence on the side. I don't want to pull your hand away. No. You're doing it all the time, okay? I'm telling you, you're getting fined for it every time. Don't hold the fence.
I think in any language he understands that.
Yes, don't hold the fence.
Certainly the way he's slapping his hand, he knows why his hand was being slapped.
Yes, but
it's gamemanship.
Yeah, but in this event, it's because of the type of event it is. You're either going to have to outlaw holding the fence because it's kind of like playing the middle. You can grab it for a second and let go, or you can do this. Hey, either have it or don't have it.
The animated Carlson Gracie along with Alan Goes, both complaining to McCarthy about holding onto the fence by Takahashi. But now the danger is that Takahashi's got the big right hand, and I mean he can land on his feet, and that would just put Ismail in a defensive posture once again.
And Takahashi, it looks to me like he's better off than Ismail. He looks like wind is there. Ismail looks tired.
You want to fight still? Let's go. Put your
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Ismail looks very winded, very, very winded. And I think Takahashi's going to stick to his game plan. He's not going to go out there and throw big leather and get extended and allow Ismail an opportunity.
I disagree.
I think he's going to sit back, and I think he's going to play the same game.
If he was smart with 3 minutes, I would come out and try and knock him out. That way there's you can't complain about a guy that knocks you out.
This is a 3-minute overtime.
And I think he needs to be the aggressor because Ismail is not game right now. He's trying to catch his breath.
Semifinal lightweight tournament. The winner gets Jerry Bohlander in the lightweight tournament championship.
Well, I would think that Ismail might be trying to get his breath back, but certainly his offense is going to be grappling skills, and Takahashi shows that he can repel that. So there's nothing really to fear there, even if Ismail becomes fresher with with a little bit of a break, but I think at this point,
Takahashi cannot call timeout.
Let's go. Well, he's saying that he got hit in the eye by Ismail.
Now McCarthy quickly sends him back into battle.
Yeah, Takahashi's got a strange personality. He does that in Bangers too, but Bangers referees give him a timeout. But, you know, he's going to have to understand the way the octagon rules work.
And Ismail is out of gas. He certainly doesn't seem here to feel he's behind. And if he does know he's behind, then he's just looking not to absorb any more punishment at the hands of Takahashi.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh!
Kick by Takahashi.
And he was on the ground. That is not legal. Takahashi is not allowed to kick while wearing shoes when the opponent is on the ground. And you saw McCarthy point to the judge.
That was a warning. First a warning, then a penalty, then a disqualification.
As you see here, I guess Takahashi knows that he's got the win. But like I said, in this type of fight, you don't know how the cards are going to go.
Takahashi has knockout power. Ismail better keep his hands up.
Absolutely. He was mocking him a minute ago by doing his jump start there, doing a little tap dance in the middle of the octagon. It fired Ismail up, but that's what Takahashi wants him to do. He wants to come in and eat some punches.
It's a perfect ploy for Takahashi to sit and wait for the grappler to come. It's what a boxer or a striker should do in offense against the grappler.
Absolutely, and Takahashi, he's played this game plan out perfectly. But, you know, the only thing I would say was Takahashi, with the way Ismail is, I believe that he could knock him out if he would just go after him.
Well, I may concur with you there. It's obvious that Ismail is in no way ready to try to counter strikes. He seems to be arm fatigued from all that holding Takahashi up against the fence.
Jeff, he's ready to go. His legs are very wobbly right now.
I think Takahashi's happy with his performance. I don't think he really wants to hurt his opponent in any way. So he's just basically killing the timeout and playing the smart game, and that is protect yourself and keep the lead.
20 seconds to go.
Takahashi feels that he has won the fight. There's blood coming down the side of the eye of Ismail. He's eating punches. He ate a right hand right there, and he's wiping blood from his eyes. Ismail looks to me like, you know, his arms are wobbly, his legs are wobbly.
He's tired.
Maybe he didn't do what it took to get in shape for this because his legs are very wobbly.
And that is it. And Ismail with the medal of a champion, but Takahashi with the game plan of a real pro.
Yes, very psyched out Takahashi. He believes he won the fight. His game plan, he stuck to his game plan. And, you know, from where I'm sitting, I thought Takahashi in the beginning of the fight was losing. But when they hit the ground, I think Takahashi took advantage, took over the fight, and I believe he won.
So it goes to the judges' scorecards now. And we will wait for the judges to render a decision. They simply hold up one name. And one name only. There's no point differential. It's just a winner, and then it will be decided by 2 out of 3 judges picking a winner, or all 3.
As we see, Bruce, the Brazilians didn't like the way the fight was, but hey, let's face it, you know, you're in the octagon, you got to prepare for everything and expect everything, and you know, you can't complain after the fight's over. You got to fight while the fight's happening, and you know, you just got to come back and do it again. Right now, John and Doctor is looking over Ismail and talking to Carlos, and I believe that they understand that their fighter has probably lost the fight also.
So we're waiting for the judges to render their decision. And again, you see Ismail now over-explaining to McCarthy about Takahashi grabbing the fence. We'll wait for the formal announcement from the judges. Let's go up to Manny Garcia.
Judges' decision. Judge Michael D. Pasquale Jr. scores this bout to Yoshiki Takahashi. Judge Kurt Shear scores the bout to Yoshiki Takahashi. And Judge Jeff Mullen scores the bout to Yoshiki Takahashi, the winner by unanimous decision, Yoshiki Takahashi.
Well, it came out the way we expected, you know, there'll be that controversy about holding the fence, but nevertheless.
And look at the honor at the end. The 2 combatants go out, they hug each other. There's no animosity inside the octagon. I think that's important to point out.
Here are some of the headbutts which were very effective by Takahashi.
Right there, he's raking him with some side punches because you can't get no leverage on anything else. So, and then when he spreads his hands, he headbutts him right there. Ismail has started to weaken at this point, and he took a lot of shots. Takahashi lands a right hand right there and stumbles him.
He got arm weary, and you're right. All of that holding on to the legs of Takahashi up near the fence really drained the strength and stamina out of Ismail, and he became vulnerable. And I'd celebrate if I were Takahashi. A masterful strategy and tactical fight.
You know, and Ismail is billed as one of the top jiu-jitsu guys, and Takahashi went in there and fought a perfect game plan and won the fight.
So Takahashi from Chiba, Japan, which is north of Tokyo, a pancrase fighter in his first UFC, moves to the finals. And he will meet Jerry Bohlander. So Bohlander wins in 1:24 by choke, and Takahashi goes 12 minutes plus the 3-minute overtime, and he wins a unanimous decision. Ken Shamrock will take a break. He'll be back later for the championship in this lightweight bracket. Your quick thoughts, Ken?
Well, you know, we've seen the two lightweight fights, and you've seen 3 guys in there that had great submission skills and striking ability, and that's what the UFC's coming to. And you're going to see in the finals here, Takahashi and Bohlander. Bohlander has been doing it for about a year and a half. Takahashi's been doing it for like 4 years. So we will see what kind of experience and what Jerry Bohlander has learned in the last year as opposed to what Takahashi has in 4 years, and we'll just see what happens. I see it to be an exciting fight, and we'll just see who has the masterful skills there. You know, obviously I know Bohlander. He's one of my fighters, and I know Takahashi because I fought him 4 times. They're both very good.
All right, Ken, we'll see you later. Get some rest, and we'll look forward to your thoughts later.
Thank you.
Ken Shamrock, who is a 2-time super fight champion in the UFC. We move on now to the heavyweight tournament, and once again we begin in the semifinals. We've got 4 combatants, and it will be Trey Telligman, Victor Belfort, Jim Mullen, and Scott the Pitbull Ferrozzo. So a pretty good group set to go in our heavyweight group, 200 pounds and bigger, Jeff. And these are the big boys.
Well, it's important to point out it will be Ferrozzo, Mullen first in this, and certainly these are going to be some great matchups here, and I'm really looking forward to the Belfort-Telligman match.
Here we go. It's Scott the Pitbull Ferrozzo against Jim Mullen. And of course, Ferrozzo, who had the victory over David Tank Abbott in the semifinals of UFC 11. But Jim Mullen comes in very confident with his kickboxing abilities.
I need to fight however the fight should take me. If I have to attack because he's retreating, which I don't see him doing, I will probably be the counter fighter. But I've already seen myself winning the belt and raising my hands 10 different times through a hypnotherapist, and it's already a completed mission. It's just now all it has to do is go through the process.
Here comes Jim Mullen, the current WKA North American heavyweight kickboxing champion. 15-1 as a pro kickboxer, 16-1 as an amateur. He also has been a pro boxer. He fought the likes of Obed Sullivan, who's the IBF North American heavyweight champion, and Justin Fortune, who recently lost to Lennox Lewis. So Mullen is a striker. Mullen also teaches submission fighting at the Ultimate Fighting Concepts in Simi Valley, California.
Well, he has a great kickboxing background, spent 13 years of his life on it, as well as Okinawa Tay, 8 years of that, and then he turned pro boxing. So really, Jim Mullen is a striker, very limited ground experience. He says he's seen his opponent fall, but this is his first time in the octagon, and we know what experience means here.
Well, his opponent, the man they call the Pitbull, Scott Ferrozzo. And one of the things that Ferrozzo is trying to guard against is getting pounded up top. And we see Ferrozzo using his power that he's used before in the UFC. But what about getting hit in his face?
The goal is not to get hit at all in the face. I don't want to go to the doctor, so we've got a kind of a pattern going to the doctor after every fight. My game plan is to get it over very quickly, my first fight, and shut him up. I heard he talked some crap about me already, and he has no clue. You know, I feel that if you're not dedicated to the sport 100%, you don't belong in it, period.
Well, here comes the pitbull, Scott Ferrozzo from Shakopee, Minnesota. 323 pounds. And in his last UFC, he proved he was more than just a load. He proved he could fight.
And that's important to point out, Bruce, that that's 23, 25 pounds less than he normally weighs.
And there is the Ferrozzo plan.
Well, Ferrozzo, a strong wrestling background, but he really does like to punch. He's a headhunter. And because of his size, he really feels he has more power than most, and he tries to bring that power to bear and bring his opponent down.
Here's a look at the tail of the tape for this first heavyweight bout of the evening. It's pit fighting against kickboxing. Ferrozzo, 5 years older. He's got a weight advantage of 108 pounds. One from Minnesota, one from Simi Valley, California. And speaking of California, young man out of Huntington Beach, a two-time UFC finalist, David Tank Abbott, our color commentator for the heavyweight bracket.
Yes, I am here, and I'm here for the heavyweights. I'm not in the small-time kitty category. I'm with the big men.
All right, first of all, Ferrozzo. Ferrozzo was victorious over you. Do you have a grudge against this guy or what?
I don't have any grudges about anybody. I showed up, fought the guy. I was 100% that night, but I wasn't 100% for myself. And he showed up, and he was the better man that night. C'est la vie.
Your thoughts on the breakdown of the heavyweight tournament versus the lightweight tournament? You like
well,
the
I'm glad. Well, it's all right. I mean, weight classes are there for a reason because they can't tangle with the big boys. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Well, as I say, equal skill, then the body can make a big difference. And if you just don't have that mass, that's certainly not something of less skill. That's just genetics. That's the reality. I think it's going to open the door for a lot of other fighters.
Quite possibly, but not to the giant door.
What do you think's going to happen in this fight?
Well, I would have to say Ferrozzo's going to come out on top. You can't really base yourself as a stand-up fighter and do well unless you got a real strong grappling background.
All right, let's take a look at this overall bracket. It's Mullen and Ferrozzo, and Telligman and Belfort. So Ferrozzo, the only guy with experience, Tank, in the heavyweight tournament. That is huge.
Well, experience is a lot to do with it. You never know, you know. You invite these people to dinner, and you don't know who's going to eat the food. Who's going to eat all the food? You got the rotund one over here, the WWF wannabe. But he proved that he can throw down, so we'll see what happens.
All right, let's go up to our Octagon announcer, Manny Garcia, for the formal introduction of the fighters.
Introducing first, standing to my left, a kickboxer with a first-degree black belt in Okinawa. He is the former North American, two-time United States and World Amateur Kickboxing Champion, a former professional boxer. He is 16-1 as a professional kickboxer. 27 years old, standing 6 foot 1 inch tall, and weighing 210 pounds, fighting out of Simi Valley, California. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the current WKA North American heavyweight kickboxing champion, Jim Mullen. His opponent standing to my right, a pit fighter with a UFC record of 2-1. He is one of the most powerful men ever to step into the octagon. He is a former two-time Nevada State Wrestling champion and an All-American standout in football. 37 years old, standing 5 feet 11 inches tall, and weighing in at 323 pounds. Fighting out of Shakopee, Minnesota, he is Scott the Pitbull Ferrozzo.
Scott's sister sending out a happy birthday wish to Mom Irene back home in Minnesota. And there is the Pitbull's wife, Joanne. And we are set to go. So it's Ferrozzo against Jim Mullen. First appearance for Mullen in the UFC.
Here we go, gentlemen. Are you ready?
John McCarthy, third man in the octagon.
Let's get it on!
I think you're right, Tank. I think a stand-up fighter is really going to have a tough time, and Ferrozzo, to his credit, is going to sit back a little bit and wait.
Whoa, into the octagon fence goes Mullen.
And he's using his size now. He's trying to smother Mullen up against the fence.
I think it's pretty much on it right there. He doesn't need to work down submissions. Back up and drop some bombs right there.
There is the huge weight advantage of Ferrozzo.
He's too close right now to hit somebody with effective power. He needs to back off, get some room, and drop some bombs. But it looks like he's working for some submission right there with the
potential choke there.
Right, the guillotine type thing. Now he's creating some space. He's salt and peppering him right now with some shots with his right.
Little uppercut landed by Ferrozzo. Mullen is fortunate that he didn't go head first right into the octagon fence when he went back.
Yeah, Ferrozzo now is definitely looking for the choke. And the best way to really put a choke on is to put it on loosely and then he's tight.
There he is. He's creating some space now. Start popping. Pop, baby, pop. There you go.
Big uppercut.
There he is. Ferrozzo. All he's got to do up against the fence is either take the big man down or there he goes. Let's see what happens. He's got to get off the fence with a big man leaning against him like that.
Certainly does. Mullen needs to move.
Well, I think I've been in that position before.
This looks reminiscent, but you were the one driving Ferrozzo into the fence.
That's right. I knew how to survive. I didn't go to the hospital.
Somewhat surprising that Mullen, a kickboxer, chose to use the footwear.
Well, he wanted to stay on his feet. You can kick all you want with a shoe on, a specific shoe. There's only one shoe you're allowed to wear. And if you're going to keep the fight on your feet, you can go ahead and kick that way.
It doesn't look at Ferrozzo. It's too effective with the choke.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's the knee. He's loosening him up. The man needs to get away from the fence. He doesn't have the power to play with a big man like that right there.
Yeah, certainly he's not going to get away from the fence with that much weight sitting in front of him, particularly with his legs split.
I agree with you, but he could scoot out to the left.
He should try. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and take punishment.
I don't know. That's kind of fun to feel.
I'm certainly not the one in the octagon, and I haven't been in the octagon.
Either one of us are there, and you know what? These men are going to war.
And a knee by Ferrozzo to the face of Mullen.
It's still, these punches are not effective. They're too close range. They're not coming from the other side of the ring where they can really do some damage. They're smothered, if you will.
The octagon is 32 feet across, but right now it could be 3 feet across.
That's the best kind of octagon. Foam
Mullen is doing a very good job of defending himself against a much bigger body who has experience.
It's reminiscent of Grammy and Johnson. Get up now, back up.
Yeah, he should have been getting up right there.
I don't know if he's got the eye of the tiger right now.
Well, he doesn't have the ground skills, and he's on the ground right now, so he really doesn't understand or have the skill to be able to just, as a wrestler, would be able to scoot to the side, turn the hips down, and get yourself up.
We're looking at Ferrozzo, a pit fighter, trying to employ a choke, and I don't know how deft he is at that, Tank.
It's more like a headlock. He's trying to knock him down where he can get himself on top of him in a mount. That's what ideally Ferrozzo wants.
I'll tell you what I'm captivated by is that new tattoo. Get up, son. Get up. There you are. Suck that knee up. Now get your feet behind you and come to your feet.
Not a good defensive posture here.
Now come up. Pull yourself up.
Actually, I think it's a good defensive posture. He's not getting hit really with any of those shots, but he's not giving them.
There he goes. I agree with Jeff.
He finally waited. He finally made it wait.
Now come outside.
And this is where Ferrozzo in the past has used his knees effectively.
I think Mullen's about to go down again.
Oh, down goes Mullen.
This is what Ferrozzo wanted all along, was to try to get to a guard where he can sit up, mount, and then have those effective punches come down on his opponent.
Well, this demonstrates how somebody that can basically fight on their feet can do a lazy guard and protect themselves. But
defense helped. It kept them upright.
Sure.
match, Ferrozzo showed a little bit of athleticism there.
That's a nice straight double-leg takedown, wrestling all the way, and just dumped his opponent down.
That's absolutely right. I mean, he's in there doing his thing and
doing it effectively.
What can you say?
Doing it effectively.
He's almost done, Scott. Go, mounting and punch.
Becky Levi in the corner, Ferrozzo shouting out instructions.
I want to fight Becky Levi.
Well, maybe we can arrange it.
Well, late night, maybe in a bedroom. I'm just teasing with you guys.
Well, let's see here. We got Ferrozzo on top, definitely trying to work, and Becky was yelling for him to set up just one effective punch. And there it was. He used his left hand. And that's somewhat what you have to do is get the opponent to think one way, and then you go the other and pull anticipation. And that's what setting up is. That's what faking out is. Ferrozzo needs to do a little bit more of that, and I give Mullen a lot of credit here.
He has survived longer than I thought he would, and I'll tell you, either that is a credit to him or that says something about Ferrozzo not being able to really drop some bombs on some people.
And Mullen this time fighting back from the ground, trying to land a couple of blows. But it's not fun with the weight advantage now over 100 pounds.
This is Ferrozzo's strength. But we saw Ferrozzo lose to Bohlander down in Puerto Rico. A masterful strategy by Bohlander to hang on, move around, and eventually choke out the big man. And now it looks like Ferrozzo's taking a break.
I'll tell you what, ignorance is bliss, and Bohlander, just like Blandy, got lucky with Freddie and choked him out when ignorance is bliss. I don't think it ever happened again. And the big man's doing his thing. I hope he's pacing himself and doing all right. He looks all right. We can't really say anything bad about him. He's not finishing people, but he's definitely dominating.
And he's working.
He's certainly working. He's certainly trying. He's certainly trying to set up his next strike. But Mullen doing a great job of trying to keep his arms up, keep the guard so that Ferrozzo can't pass it and have a clean shot at him.
7+ minutes
but there's only so much you can do from the bottom, and if you're a stand-up fighter, you don't have any of those submission skills to catch Ferrozzo off guard in a choke, arm lock, or leg lock, and really that's going to spell trouble for Mullen in the end. He can't score from here.
You have to say one thing about the guard. I mean, you got a stand-up fighter that can learn it in probably 2 weeks to protect himself.
Get up.
It's one thing to protect yourself, it's quite another to be able to win.
Back up here.
It looks like something's happening.
And McCarthy wants to have Mullen looked at first. He wants to have Mullen looked at.
Turn around, look at
and
me.
then a decision will be rendered by Leon Tabbs and Dr. Richard Istrico. And they will decide if he will continue. If he does, it will be from a starting position, a standing position. But that left eye has taken a bit of a beating.
Got a bit of swelling around it.
I'll tell you one thing, I'm getting turned on by Ferrozzo.
Good man. Your brother's here, right?
You
look at my nose. You look at my nose.
He's all breathing, he's bent over.
Open up, both of them. Open both of them.
He's my kind of guy.
So being checked out now
Look at the light. Look at the light.
Mullen by
Look at the
Dr.
light.
Bernie
Look at the light.
Kennitz. He
Look at the
along
light.
with his
Okay, it's
wife,
coming right at you. Keep your eyes
Tracy
right
Martin Kennitz, two of the local physicians here in Dothan, working with Dr. Richard Istrigo, the chief medical advisor.
I'm tell you right now, you got to get busy.
And I believe they are going to let Mullen continue. McCarthy wants him to work.
All right. Now, I like that. That's good. Let's see some love. Get out and beat on each other.
So we're about 7:45 in.
We're in the bedroom. It's Friday. Let's see some rough love.
Let's get it on.
A restart with 4+ minutes left in regulation of this heavyweight tournament semifinal bout between Jim Mullen and Scott Ferrozzo.
Punching. Don't run, son. Here he is. He's trapped in the corner again.
Just got
Ferrozzo.
That's it.
Ferrozzo dropped some bombs on him. He looked sharp right there.
He's tired. He had one last shot at it. He couldn't get it done, and that ended it.
You can't turn your back to Ferrozzo in that position.
Sit there.
That's true.
Thank you for the confirmation. Mullen appears to be okay.
If he wanted to turn his back.
Mullins is okay. He's just going to stay there, wait for the doctor, and check out that eye.
Absolutely. Mullins is not hurt. Doctor goes in there checking him out. It's going to be an A-OK, I'm sure.
Well, give Ferrozzo credit. good strategy. He was able to back it up with some good technique.
I'll tell you one thing, he's walking out with the W.
Too much weight there, guys. Just too big of a differential.
And a first-time person in the octagon.
Right. So it's 8-17. Ferrozzo winning the bout. Ref stops contest. He may not be a poster boy, but he does know how to win.
And I do believe that Jim Mullen, with a lot of physical work, could drop that extra weight and get down to that under 200 weight class.
Good point.
I like weight classes.
I'm sure you do. Here's a look at some of the action.
Well, once Ferrozzo got Mullen up against the fence, that allowed him to go ahead and uncork some big punches. None of these really effectively land. But
Jeff, he's letting his hands fly. He's letting loose, and that looks beautiful.
well, it's certainly being aggressive. It's not the most efficient or perfect blows thrown, but they did add up, and they eventually wore Mullen out.
Sure enough, you throw enough of those, they'll come back at you.
Well, Mullen got one punch in, tried a reverse elbow spin. It caught a little bit of Ferrozzo, but he got knocked down, and a couple of knees later, John McCarthy immediately stepped in and broke the fight.
So it ends up as a ref stops contest at 8-17. Ferrozzo now 3-1 in the octagon, has only lost to Bohlander in his first UFC, which was UFC 8 in Puerto Rico. And we are set to go for our second semifinal in the heavyweight tournament. And this should be a dandy. Telligman, Vitor Belfort. And Telligman, a guy who knows what it's like to work with some of the best, including Ken Shamrock.
I got his business card the whole night.
You can train your whole life, and until you train with world-class athletes, you're not at their level. You make mistakes, and you make a mistake in this game, you're going to lose. And that's what some people don't understand. I've seen some great fighters fighting this thing that have been beat, and people don't even remember them, and that's because they made one mistake, and they made the first mistake, and the other person capitalized on, or they walked into the other person's strength because they didn't know the fighter they were fighting.
His name is Telligman. His nickname is Trauma, a submission fighter from Texas. 4-0 in reality combat, and you're going to see something a little bit strange about his physique because he had a car accident when he was only a year and a half old, and he lost his entire pectoral muscle. Hence, it's going to be a strange look, but the young man is talented and extremely strong, and his ribs actually are protected, Dr. Istrigo says, because they served almost as a buffer with what has happened to him in the past. Here's his discipline, Jeff.
Well, he is a submission fighter out of the Lion's Den. He works with Ken Shamrock and company, great at joint locks, chokeholds, and because of that grappling background, good at takedowns. He will probably want to bring this fight down to the ground, and what he said about that accident is no excuses. He doesn't want us to dwell on what he looks like. He wants us to dwell on how he fights.
I like that.
All right, time right now for a UFC flashback. And this one is Royce Gracie against Chemo, UFC 3, September 9th, 1994, Charlotte, North Carolina. It was in a quarterfinal round. And watch Royce Gracie with the arm bar working against Chemo. He'll get the submission in just under 5 minutes of a tooth and nail battle. And what a physical war this one was. Here's a look at the ending.
Had a great arm bar there. Chemo had to tap out or lose the arm.
And Gracie was unable to continue in that UFC. UFC number 3, the champion was Steve Jenham, who was an alternate. The first time an alternate had won a championship. Here's a look at Vitor Belfort. His discipline is Vale Tudo, trained by Carlson Gracie, his first UFC. And what a youngster.
I think I'm really focused in my training, you know, and I do everything in my training for I can get better. Whatever I need to do, I'm gonna do for get better. And I work hard for this, and I hope I have the talent and the skills for be ready to the real fight.
Here comes Vitor Belfort, the 4-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. 2-0 in reality combat. some say at only 19 years of age, he has the potential, the raw skills, to be a great one in UFC competition. Fighting and in training since age 9. Actually used the Gracie surname for a while, but he dropped it because he wants to be recognized for who he is, not who he is associated with.
And Belfort's discipline is from the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu clan. Typical Brazilian. He fights this way in his country. This is how they go to battle. He can strike, but he's great at submissions, and I look for him to try to bring this down to the ground and end it there. But he also likes the strikes. He likes to box. He'll throw punches.
Here's a look at the tail of the tape for the second heavyweight tournament semifinal bout. Jiu-Jitsu submission. You can see the difference in age. Belfort is 13 years younger, also 28 pounds lighter. So we saw Royce Gracie dominate the UFC in 1, 2, and 4. Could another of the disciple from the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu style emerge tonight? We'll find out. Right now, the introduction of the fighters. Here's Manny Garcia.
Introducing first and standing to my left, a shoot fighter representing the discipline of submission. He is the two-time US AOK Karate Champion and the Hawaii Freestyle Martial Arts Super Heavyweight Champion. He has a full contact karate tournament record of 75-10 and is undefeated in reality combat fights. Fighting out of Dallas, Texas, he is 32 years old, standing 6 foot 2 inches and weighing in at 240 pounds. Please welcome Trey Trauma Telligman. His opponent standing to my right, a Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter with an undefeated reality combat record. He was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champions 5 times in both heavyweight and all weights categories. Originally from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but currently fighting out of Hollywood, California, he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. 19 years old, standing 6 feet tall, and weighing 210 pounds. UFC plans. Please welcome Vitor Belfort.
Vitor Belfort against Trey Telligman. The winner takes on Ferrozzo. Tag your thoughts on this bout going in.
Are you ready? I'd have to say that Belfort looks pretty sharp. I'm impressed with the way he looks, but you can't judge a book by its cover. Let's see what happens.
Belfort in the black trunks, Telligman the red and black trunks.
I don't like the passive stance Telligman's taking. I was watching the clips before. It looks like he can let his hands fly. Right in front of us, my God.
Belfort in on a double. Telligman defending, using an underhook there to try to keep Belfort off of him.
Yeah.
Oh, big right hand landed by Belfort.
Good hands.
Real fast hands by Belfort.
Yeah,
oh my.
Telligman doesn't like it. That's why he's trying to get it.
Oh, and he got tagged.
He got caught.
And he's in the guard now. He's trying to protect himself in the guard.
But look at the quickness of Belfort.
Unbelievable.
He's got good hands.
Very fast. He's got the guard passed right now. He's a side pass, but
he's on the side mount. We'll see how he can put it together and work on things here.
And Telligman is a bloody mess as Belfort lands that left hand explosively. There's some elbows.
That's not necessarily anything good. He's just hitting the arm right there.
And that is it. McCarthy stepped in. I believe he tapped out.
Okay? Stay right there.
Telligman appears to be okay.
Belfort looked pretty tough there.
Yeah, Telligman saying I'm all right. Telligman was just whispering to John McCarthy, I'm all right. But
yeah, I looked at it and didn't even think twice about it. He looks fine.
Oh my.
Wow.
Belfort. Unbelievable speed in those hands.
Telligman telling the doctors he's okay, but he took a shot and he was bleeding pretty good from just above his right eye.
Yeah, it's one cut from the right eye there that did all that bleeding.
Looked pretty sharp. Looked real sharp.
Vitor Belfort in an explosive performance. Now, we had heard about him because he was almost in the last UFC prior to the Ultimate.
I bet Telligman wishes he had another pectoral muscle right now.
Well, there's no doubt about this. We have not seen that kind of hand speed in the UFC before. We've seen great power. We've seen great power, but nothing like that kind of hand speed.
Well,
oh, my.
I'll tell you this. You know, you can put straw through steel, and if it's fast enough, it'll happen. And he had quick hands. It'll be interesting to watch how the night unfolds. That was absolutely interesting.
And you can see Belfort looking at John McCarthy, who then does break it. Belfort did not want to hit his opponent again, felt that he really wasn't in a position to defend himself. And again, that shows that these athletes do care about each other.
Those athletes.
So it's ruled a tap out. And I'll tell you, Tank, we've seen some ferocity before. But this guy came out of that corner and he was like shot from a cannon.
Yes, he was. Uh-oh.
You gonna give me some thoughts of this guy or what?
Oh, he looked sharp, but you know, it's all relative to who you fight. So we will have to see how he gets tested and what becomes of him.
Well, Jeff, you've seen a lot of guys first time out come into the octagon and be somewhat shell-shocked because of what's in there. It's so much different than what's in the dojo, but Belfort looked very equipped to go out there and score.
Well, Belfort has many of these types of fights. That's what they do in Brazil. And Telligman probably does not have it's his first time in the octagon. So certainly that first experience, all the nerves that go with it, despite being from a great camp, the Shamrock Camp, the Lion's Den. Belfort, one of the Gracie disciples, is one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters I've ever seen strike. He has boxing hands.
Yeah,
they
Jeff, that was by far not jiu-jitsu.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right there. He had some good hands, and be interested to see how he unfolds later.
There is a person you can say has a complete package.
Tank, a pleasure for you stopping by, and we get you for the championship in the heavyweight tournament, so think up some good lines and come back.
Me? Where? What?
Back here later. Aloha.
Tank, thanks for your help.
All right, man.
Adios,
It was a good fun, and maybe I'll drop a choke on you.
Here's a look at the heavyweight tournament, the way it has unfolded. Ferrozzo won in 8:17 with the referee stopping the contest, and then Belfort with the victory on a tap out in 1 minute and 18 seconds. It was a verbal tap out. Don't forget, later tonight, the big matchup for the heavyweight championship. It's Mark Coleman against Dan Severn. Well, in UFC 10 and 11, the champion Mark the Hammer Coleman was forced to withdraw from December's Ultimate due to an illness that affected his thyroid gland. Is he ready to return to form?
I'm very motivated coming into this fight. This is the biggest opportunity of my life. I respect Dan as a fighter and as a person, but I'm coming in there to win this tournament. That is the main goal. That's the only goal. Anything less would be devastating to me.
Yeah. Come on. This is your rep now. This is your rep. Go. Come on. We gotta have it. We gotta have it. Come on. Come on. Come on. Nice. Through. Come on.
To beat Dan Severn, I'm going to have to be on top of my game. I'm going to have to hit him hard. I'm going to have to find a way to get him on the ground because we are basically the same skill level. I think it's going to come from the heart. The winner's going to be the guy that wants it more, and I want this fight bad.
Look out! Look at his power, but tried, ran down to the fence, and Coleman ran into a punch. Oh! Right hand by Coleman, another!
When you walk into the ring, it's not about going in there just trying to kill somebody. It's not a bar fight. There's a lot of strategy involved. You have to plan your attack, and you have to be smart out there. So there's a lot of preparation needed to do well in the octagon. I consider myself a pretty good striker. I think it's come naturally. I haven't worked on it much. I would like to work on it more. I feel I have a very good punch, and I'm going to be looking to soften them up with some punches and just take it from there. I'm in this Ultimate Fighting because I love competition, and this gives me an opportunity to show what hard training can do for a person. It is a lot of hard work, it is a lot of pain involved, but the feeling when the workout's over, it makes it all worth it. It was very difficult watching the Ultimate, just very painful for me. You know, I feel I could have won that tournament, so it was some hard times for me. I'm just happy that I am healthy again, and I'm just looking forward to training as hard as possible and, you know, getting back on the championship stand. My ultimate goal would be to retire undefeated. I don't think about losing very often, and I just want to go out there and get the respect of all the people, and I want to be considered, you know, the best fighter ever step in the ring when it's all said and done.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, Mark Coleman.
So it's Mark Coleman later tonight against Dan Severn for the heavyweight championship. Well, we've got some important news to pass along. Let's check backstage right now with Joe Rogan. Joe?
Hi, Bruce. We're backstage. We've just been informed that Takahashi broke his hand in his fight, and he's not going to be fighting in the finals. So to replace him will be the alternate Nick Sanzo, who won earlier this evening. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. So Nick Sanzo, who won as an alternate earlier tonight, will step in for Takahashi to take on Bohlander. Sanzo wanted 43 seconds, Jeff, when the ref stopped the contest, and it leads us to a matchup now, Bohlander and Sanzo.
I think Bohlander certainly is going to be in a better position than Sanzo. He knew he was going to be fighting here, but Sanzo was back there getting himself ready, so I agree, this should be a good matchup.
All right, well, Jerry Bohlander has talked about his influence working with Ken Shamrock. Here's Bohlander, the submission fighter's response about working in the Lion's Den.
He hasn't brought, I mean, there's nothing that he hasn't done for me. I mean, he's turned me into a fighter. I could fight a basic fight before. I could fight in a street fight against some average Joe or something, but now I can fight with some of the best in the world.
So here comes Jerry Bohlander, and what a difference coming into the final. Instead of facing Takahashi, he will take on Nick Sanzo. Bohlander 3-1 now in the UFC. And looking more experienced. He's managed by Bob Shamrock, trained by Ken and Frank Shamrock. He comes from the Lion's Den, and he says he's been training a year or so with the best. And Bohlander looks ready for the challenge. So Jerry Bohlander from Livermore, California.
Nope. All right, good luck. You fight
raised
smart,
in
all right?
Great Falls, Montana.
Same thing.
Born in Norfolk, Virginia. His opponent, Nick Sanzo. We asked him about being an alternate, and Sanzo knows as an alternate, you must always be ready.
I think the whole time you should be prepared to be going into the main draw, right into the finals, especially with a four-man tournament. You should expect to go into the finals. If you look at the history of the fighters that are fighting, many of them have fought wars, and not because of injuries, but just because of fatigue of not being able to finish. They have great fighters fighting in this under 200-pound weight class. They could easily eliminate each other. So I think you should just consider yourself, if you win your match, you should be ready to go into the finals.
Here comes Nick Sanzo from Niskayuna, New York. Jeff, up in your neck of the woods.
Oh, right down the street from where I grew up and went to high school. Owns a dojo called the Grapplers Jiu-Jitsu over on Hamburg Street in Rotterdam outside of Schenectady. So it's good to see a hometown man out here showcasing his skills. He did great in his alternate fight.
Fourth in the Pan-American Championship in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. First in the Yamazaki Dala, which is the East Coast Championship. So Sanzo coming in as an alternate, replacing Takahashi, taking on Jerry Bohlander. And Ken Shamrock, your thoughts?
And he looked good in his last fight. He has some skills, he has good balance, and we can't really expect to know what to see him because his opponent really didn't have the skills that Bohlander has, so he'll be tested here.
There's a look at the tail of the tape. Bohlander is the young lion, 9 pounds heavier. He's got the 2-inch height advantage, and it's east against west, California and New York City. Manny Garcia with the particulars on our championship in the lightweight tournament, first ever in UFC history.
Introducing first and standing to my left, a Sheik fighter representing the art of submission fighting. 6 years of amateur wrestling and 3 years of submission fighting experience. He is 22 years old and stands 5 foot 11 inches, weighing in at 198 pounds. A UFC veteran with a record of 3-1 in the octagon. He won earlier in the evening by submission. Fighting out of the Lion's Den in Lockport, California, Jerry Bohlander. Representing the art of jiu-jitsu, he stands in at 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs in at 190 pounds. 1-0 in the octagon. Fighting out of Niskayuna, New York, he is Nick Nanzo.
I hate to see my hometown name get butchered, but it is Niskayuna, and it's not New York City, Bruce. It's upstate.
Are you ready, Jerry? Are you ready, Nick?
There you go.
All right, here we go. It's Bohlander against Sanzo. Bohlander in the shorter trunks.
Bohlander will soften him up, standing up, and we'll see what Sanzo does here and see what kind of skills he's going to go for the takedown. He's got a single.
Wrestling background, so these are two good grapplers here. It looks as though Bohlander there is going to go for the pretzel.
Yes, he is.
The spladle here in wrestling. But
there's a choke.
Sanzo got his head out, and it seemed that Bohlander passed on that choke.
Bohlander trying to knee.
Bohlander will soften him up. You know, there's no hurry. The fight's going to be there, and he'll take his time and get him where he wants him, and he'll mount him.
And there it is.
That's what we call a crucifix. And what happens is it puts pressure on the front of the neck and the back, and eventually it chokes the guy out. So Jerry just learned that about 3 weeks ago in the dojo when we were grappling around, and he really liked that. So if he had the chance, he's going to use it. He got his chance.
Bohlander.
So Bohlander wins with the choke and a quick tap out, called the crucifix by his mentor Shamrock, and Bohlander, who had just waited for a division to open up with lightweights, has capitalized beautifully by winning the lightweight tournament.
Watch this now. He'll throw him over, and as he throws him over, he's going to sink a double underhook. And this they use in wrestling, but instead of wrestling, you trap the head, you tie your hands up behind the head, and you'll push the head forward. Right there. That creates a lot of pain. And eventually you lose your breath and you go out.
Many people don't realize pushing the chin to the chest is a form of choke.
Yeah, well, you figure you can't breathe. Obviously, at that time, you're going to pass out.
That's right, and he tapped out very quickly.
Let's go to Joe Rogan.
Congratulations. I'm right here with the winner, the first winner of the 200-pound weight class, Jerry Bohlander. Congratulations, Jerry. Fantastic victory. You just keep getting better and better every time you come out.
That's my plan. I'm going to get better, and well, that's about all I can say.
What are we looking for in the future for you?
More wins. Winning. Yeah.
Good idea. Are you going to stay at the 200-pound weight class, you think?
For a while until I grow up. It's
22 years of age.
Yeah, I ain't grown up yet.
Who would you like to fight, if anyone, in the future? Who would you like to challenge?
I wish I would have gotten to fight Takahashi. That's what I was looking forward to more than anything else, but circumstances being what they were, I couldn't do it. So maybe in the future, I'll get to fight Takahashi.
Anybody else besides Takahashi?
Anybody who steps in the octagon.
Great attitude. Congratulations. Fantastic. Very impressive. Back to you guys.
So Bohlander wins it 35 seconds with the choke and the subsequent tap out over Nick Sanzo. Jerry Bohlander, who lost the first time, he went into the octagon. Wow, has he grown up quickly, Ken Shamrock?
Yeah, you know, but he's worked hard at this, you know, and this is what he does for a living, and he was really set on getting in there and really doing what it takes to win, and I'm very happy with him. I've got a couple of other guys out there that are just as determined as Jerry Bohlander, but their time will come, and right now, Jerry is the victor. He is the lightweight champion, and I think he'll be there for a while.
And Ken, the pride that you take in seeing one of your Lion's Den's guys come out victorious.
Well, you know, you take them from like a baby would do when they can't walk. You teach them to crawl first, then you teach them to walk, and that's what we did with Jerry. We gave him, you know, some alternate fights, and then we put him in there against some guys to get some experience. And from that experience, he took it and learned, and he knew what it took to get in the octagon and win. And from that, he trained.
Well, on the reverse side of that, you also have another disciple known Telligman. How would you go ahead and talk with him and prepare him for his next fight?
I think with Telligman, I think what happened with him was that I think the hype got to him. I think that there was a lot of pressure on him. You know as well as anybody, the first time stepping in the octagon does a lot of things to you. You know, you got the crowd, you got just walking down the aisle into this big chain link fence. It's very intimidating, and I think that got a little bit of Trey. He didn't really show what he was capable of doing. And you can't take any away from Vitor Belfort, because let me tell you, that guy, he's got the fastest hands I've ever seen to step in the octagon, and he was pinpoint accurate with all his punches. He's a very, very good, I think he's going to be one of the guys that are going to be competing with.
Certainly he looked to be a complete package. We're referring to Vitor Belfort, but congratulations with Jerry Bohlander. Great performance, our first lightweight champion.
Thank you, and I'm sure he's going to be very, very proud tonight. So.
All right, Ken, pleasure to have you with us tonight. So we've got the lightweight tournament in the bag, so to speak. We've got our first champion, and the heavyweight tournament features Scott Ferrozzo against Vitor Belfort. Ferrozzo, who won in 8 minutes and 17 seconds when the ref stopped the contest against Jim Mullen, and Vitor Belfort, who was victorious in 118 on a quick tap out by Trey Telligman. And Belfort came out with a fury that we have not seen in the UFC in a while. Perhaps the debut, Jeff, of a guy named Don Fry or Mark Coleman.
Oh, without a doubt. I think that first fight alone looked, people opened their eyes and went, oh my gosh, the hand speed that Vitor Belfort possesses is incredible. It's that of a very, very good boxer, and he displayed that hand speed in punishing form, taking Telligman out rather quickly.
And coming up later, the heavyweight championship, the man you just saw, Dan Severn, taking on Mark Coleman. That is for the big title coming up as our capper later tonight. Well, when he's not competing in the UFC, Dan Severn dedicates a great deal of his time to amateur athletics. But when Severn steps inside of the octagon, he transforms into the beast. Right now, an up-close look at Dan Severn.
To me, the Ultimate Fighting Championship is the ultimate test of skill, of mental, physical, and spiritual fortitude when you step out there. There is no room for mistake. There's not a waking moment that doesn't pass, and I'm not thinking about this match. Running over different scenarios over and over and over again, so that when I step out into that octagon, I've been in some positions 1,000 times before, so I already know how I'm going to react. Well, the UFC has basically nicknamed me the Beast. They just can't realize a person that can just sit here and be mild-mannered, and yet when I step into the octagon, I can turn on this fierce competitive spirit. They just have never seen quite a transformation like that.
It's the crowd. When I hear them cheer, the biggest vitamin B12 shot I have, so that's my adrenaline shot that I get out there to where it makes the beast crazy. Not Dan Severn, but it makes the beast crazy. And the beast wants to perform.
The beast is back, Daniel Severn!
Do I like Mark Coleman? I really don't know Mark Coleman. I know him as a wrestler. I know him as his skill levels that he has. I don't have any animosity against him. Matter of fact, anyone that's standing across from me, I don't have any animosity. I don't have to conjure up any kind of hatred towards this individual. To me, it's just competition. And looking at Mark Coleman's age of 31 and then looking at my age of 38, some would say that the age factor would be to the younger lion, to a Mark Coleman, to push the old lion out there. But my greatest attribute is my mental capability to go in there and focus in what has to be done. I take a great deal of pride in what I do and what I represent. I don't consider myself a fighter. I mean, when people say, "Oh, you're a great fighter," no, I'm a great competitor.
A look at the beast, Dan Severn. Back in Dothan, the name chosen from a reference in Genesis, which reads, "For I heard them say, let us go to Dothan." Our next bout of the evening is the heavyweight tournament title fight between Scott the Pitbull Ferrozzo and Vitor Belfort. Let's take a look at how this bracket unfolded tonight. Belfort won in a tap out in 1:18 over Telligman, and Ferrozzo victorious in 8:17 when the ref stopped the contest against Jim Mullen. Jeff, here's a look at Ferrozzo's earlier bout.
Well, in his opener against Mullen, he really had a huge size advantage. After wearing them down on the ground, they were brought back to their feet. Mullen got one shot in, but Ferrozzo got him down and kneed him until the referee broke the fight. And it was a great performance by Ferrozzo. He really showed that he can be aggressive, but it was Mullen's first time in there, and you got to remember that.
And here's Belfort's first match tonight.
Well, this was highly impressive against Telligman. Belfort, just incredible talent, quick feet, and obviously capable with all kinds of strikes.
Let's go to Joe Rogan.
I'm down here, guys, with the Victor Belfort contingency, and in the wake of that unbelievably impressive victory in the semifinals, they are anticipating a wipeout in the finals.
Number one! I'll take Gracie!
They have a lot of things to say.
We feel that Victor Belfort is the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordan of this sport, and his fighting will definitely tonight speak for itself. And although we respect all the fighters, we don't feel there's anybody that can beat him. That throughout the whole Gracie camp, we know this.
Either way, folks, it's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Well, we know how they feel about their competitor for the championship.
Well, we could say they have a biased point of view.
I would think so.
However, when you looked at Belfort's performance there, it was very outstanding.
Here's a look at the tail of the tape for this championship bout. Belfort is only 19, Ferrozzo 32. Belfort is giving away a lot of weight, 118 pounds. Brazil against the U.S. And does Belfort feel the pressure carrying the great Carlson Gracie name?
I don't feel a lot of pressure because I'm really comfortable right now. I'm very confident, and my body is, you know, and I hope I can be in the octagon like this, like very confident and, you know, very focused. And I don't want, over there you don't think too much. I can't think too much right now. I just relax.
So there's the thoughts of Vitor Belfort. David Tank Abbott joins us once again, octagon side, to get ready to call this heavyweight tournament championship bout. And Tank, words of wisdom about this final.
This is going to be something that we're all going to have to sit around and watch. Who knows? You never know when you step into the octagon. Victor Gracie, or whatever his name is, looks like he can throw down a little bit. He's got some quick hands, but doesn't necessarily mean he has some power behind it. We'll see if the rotund one can weather that and take it to the littler of the two.
Tank, let's talk about game plan for Ferrozzo. What would you tell him to do if you were in his corner, which is almost an impossibility?
I like that. No, I don't know what I would tell him what to do. I just say go out and be yourself, because, you know, when you ever try to take on somebody else's fighting style, it just doesn't work for you. You know, Gracie, who's fought for 20-plus years on his back, you're not going to go pick it up and be another Gracie fighter in a year and a half. So you got to go out and do what works for you, and hopefully that'll all happen, and may the better man win. I don't know. It's kind of scary.
Well, we had a delay earlier with Vitor Belfort, and I believe now he is ready to come for the championship bout in the heavyweight tournament. Here he is, Vitor Belfort, 19 years of age, 4-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. trained by Carlson Gracie, managed by his mom and by Donnie Bender. I was born for fighting, he says. And he calls the bond between himself and Carlson Gracie closer than a father-son relationship.
And quite a gentleman. We had an opportunity to talk with him last night. A very soft-spoken individual, great respect for everyone that he fights against and particularly looks at in the UFC as competition. I was impressed with this young man, both as a person and certainly after that first fight as a fighter.
Well, his opponent this heavyweight tournament final is the Pitbull Scott Ferrozzo. We know about his size and we know about his power, but what about learning how to strike in the octagon?
I found it difficult to learn how to strike correctly. You know, everybody throws punches, but can you throw a punch from your lat? Can you throw it from your thigh? Can you throw it from your heel? You know, a good punch will develop in the heel. I think mainly the things that I've learned are arm bars, tactical on the ground, relaxing, you know, submitting my opponent without getting hurt was my main goal.
It's the ultimate test of skill and will, of style and guile. 100% pure adrenaline, 1,000% pure guts. The Pitbull complained he wasn't invited to the ultimate. Now he's got a chance for redemption in the final tonight in Dothan, Alabama.
I'm looking really excited to see this fight.
Well, I think Ferrozzo brings great size tank, but he also has some pretty good punching power. You can attest to that. You stood toe-to-toe with him.
Smart.
And certainly he has picked up more and more technique and strategy and tactics from the die-fry camp.
All I can say is I'm looking forward to this. I like to see how a young lad like Vitor is going to do. He looks like he's pretty sharp.
19 years old, and he weighs only 205 pounds.
I'd love to run into when I was 19, but hey, I'm 31 now.
Here's Manny Garcia with the introduction of our combatants for the heavyweight tournament finale.
Ladies and gentlemen, this match is for the heavyweight tournament championship. Introducing first, and standing to my left, a Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter who won earlier in the evening by a tap out. He is 19 years old, standing 6 foot tall, and weighing 210 pounds. UFC fans, please welcome Vitor Belfort. His opponent, a pit fighter with a UFC record of 3-1. He won earlier in the first round by TKO, standing 5 feet tall, 11 inches. Fighting out of Chakopee, Minnesota, Scott the Pitbull Ferrozzo.
Here we go, final of the heavyweight tournament. It is the Pitbull Scott Ferrozzo against Vitor Belfort.
And it sounded by the crowd reaction that Vitor picked up a whole bunch of fans real quick.
A little bit of a wound over that right eye of Ferrozzo, which has been taken care of by legendary
Do it for the championship. Are you ready,
Leon
Victor? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, he wants him to come in, does Ferrozzo?
Yeah, let's see what happens. They're feeling out the territory. Let's see what happens.
Hand speed against size is what I call this.
It don't matter, you know. Roy Jones Jr. ain't gonna knock out Mike Tyson.
Oh, left hand, he got it. Oh, down goes Ferrozzo.
Over with. He got caught. Ah, here he comes.
And Ferrozzo.
He's got to hit to his feet right now.
On the ground, Vitor Belfort lands it right to the head. Another. That's it. It's over. Yeah. Ferrozzo, look at Ferrozzo. The fight is over. Joe Hamilton races in to help John McCarthy. The fight is over. It's been stopped. Ferrozzo wants to continue, but clearly he has been pounded.
He got hit while he was down. The referees did the right thing. They stopped stopped it. It appeared Ferrozzo, when he went to his belly face down, absolutely could not intelligently defend himself. The rest of him, good job in stopping that fight.
Absolutely. He got caught on the button, and he was taken out. What did this guy do, win the Olympics? I mean,
Vitor Belfort. Could we have seen the passing of the torch tonight?
No.
I am someone that is impressed with Vitor Belfort. No doubt he's got hand speed. You talked about Roy Jones Jr. knocking Tyson out. Well, I sure saw that hit.
Yeah, well, all I can say is that we saw it happen, and it happened.
Ferrozzo being talked to now by referee John McCarthy. Don the Predator Fry in his corner. You can see the celebration by Belfort's camp, which is as large as one section in our audience tonight.
I think also that Ferrozzo didn't realize the fight was stopped, and when he started to get up, grabbed at Belfort's leg and wanted to continue, and that's why the referees had to push him to the fence.
Here's another look at it, guys.
He looks like he's a southpaw. Looks for the straight pipe, straight right down the pipe.
I guess Roy Jones did win, didn't he?
Yeah, left-hand versus, boy, that hit
I
the second one. Oh.
I don't think that you could compare either one to boxing, actually.
Now here's where he puts him away, Jeff.
He'll watch to see what Ferrozzo wants to do, and now he takes action by hitting him. And it just seemed that those couple punches there were enough to make John McCarthy say, hey, you're not defending yourself, you're absorbing punishment. Good call by the official.
There was a plethora of punches.
I love that word, plethora.
And it forced McCarthy to step in and stop it. And you saw Ferrozzo, he's going to complain that it was just too quick. Let's go up to Joe Rogan. Joe?
I'm here live with Victor. Congratulations, Victor. Unbelievable victory.
Everything for my trainer, Stanky Boxer, Carson. That's, I never did alone this. All my friends forced me to here. All my students watch me now. I did for everybody, not for me. And I hope I can do better in the future. And, you know,
Victor, a lot of people say that you are the most complete Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter ever, and you're only 19 years of age. Does that put a lot of added pressure on you?
No, because I have all my team back and me in this training, and over here, I can say the Carlson Gracie team is the best. I hope all the fighters over here, they are very tough, and I think who deserve the credit, who train more, who, you know, I don't know what to say. I'm very happy.
Congratulations. What do you look for in your future with the UFC? What would you like to do next?
I would like to, you know, to fight. All my life is fighting. And I hope I can fight with the champion, with a champion again, because the best fighters right now is over here in UFC. You know, today we're gonna have a super fight. The two the best is Coleman and Severn. And you know, I'm gonna be ready for whatever Carlson wants me to fight. And you know, my training is tanky, my stretch.
Carlson.
Stacy. And you know, the chiropractors over here, they help.
I'm gonna ask a question of Carlson.
My friend.
Carlson.
And Banner.
Who do?
Right here. Banner. And my friends Wallid, you know, they told me the guys hold defense all the time. You know, this is not fair, but he's gonna get back and he's gonna beat up again. He's gonna fight again. Hope he's a tough guy.
Carlson, what do you look for in the future for Victor?
Eu quero que o Vitor seja famoso, como tem grandes lutadores, o Coleman.
I want him to be as famous as Coleman.
Coleman, o próprio Ferrozzo.
Even Ferrozzo,
Tank Abbott,
Severn,
Marquez,
Mark Hare, all
Tem muitos lutadores muito bons. Eu acho que o Vitor vai chegar lá com eles.
There are several different good guys over there, and I think Victor's gonna get there also.
How proud has he made you this evening?
Como que você ficou orgulhoso em relação ao Vitor?
Ele faz por isso, ele treinou e ele merece isso. Ele fez esforço para isso e é garoto muito bom.
He's trained for that, and Carson's very proud of him. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Ele assimilou o que eu ensinei a ele.
And he has learned everything Carson taught him.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Victor. Congratulations. Back to you, Bruce and Jeff.
All right, Joe Rogan, thank you very much. So Vitor Belfort, at 19 years of age, wins his first heavyweight tournament title. 52 seconds, and it deserves another look. Tank, what about the hand speed?
Looks good. He's got real sharp punching ability. And again, he's fighting Ferrozzo, the rotund one.
Did you think the stoppage was right? You think it was fair?
Oh, absolutely. You know, actually, it's a coin toss. It didn't seem like Ferrozzo was gone, but he was hitting on him. So
he was being protected.
We got to do what we got to do. You know, I don't know. He was on the ground. It might have been a quick stoppage, but I don't think it would have changed the outcome whatsoever.
Tank, before you leave us, what about the challenge that Ken Shamrock put to you the last time out?
The challenge. You know what? I think people that run around and challenge people are desperate human beings. I mean, I've got no reason to fight Glammy. If Glammy wants to challenge himself, he should go into the mirror, look in the mirror, and say, you know what? I've fought in 3 tournaments. My gig is to get to the finals of a tournament. He's never been to one. He's appropriately named Shamrock. He's a fake. He's a fraud. He's a sham. Get in there and fight. Make himself a tournament. You know.
What about a head-to-head match with you and him? Then the words can be tossed out. You can just do it in the octagon.
Well, let's say it this way. Why does Pretty Boy get to call all the shots? Now I get to call all the shots, and he's not in my regiment. Oh, he shut me down.
All right, Tank Abbott, thanks for coming by. We appreciate your input tonight and your commentary.
Love you, man. Give me a big kiss.
No, not in their wildest dreams.
Thank you, Tank.
Adios. I love Big Jeff, and I love Big Bruce.
Let's go to Joe Rogan.
Victor, on behalf of SEG Sports as the promoter and the Ultimate Fighting Alliance as the sanctioning body, it's my pleasure tonight to present you with this medal signifying your great victory as heavyweight tournament champion. Yeah. Congratulations, Victor. Just the beginning, my friend. Bob Marowitz.
Congratulations. Thank you.
You heard it here, guys. Just the beginning. Back to you, Bruce and Jeff.
So the presentation by Bob Meyerowitz, the president of SEG Sports, and by Arthur Davey, the commissioner of the UFA, the Ultimate Fighting Alliance. Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, Vitor certainly showed the world that he, as a 19-year-old, possesses tremendous skill, both in submission, though we didn't get to see it, but you know it from the Gracie family, but with his striking ability.
And he exudes class in and out of the octagon. It's the heavyweight championship. Yes, the UFC went to a new format this time with the heavyweight unification title bout entitled Judgment Day and the lightweight and heavyweight tournament underneath it. But this one is for all the marbles. Mark Coleman and Dan Severn. And our new guest comes equipped with some pretty impressive belts. He's Don the Predator Fry, who was the champion in Ultimate 96. And Don, welcome.
How are you doing there, Bruce?
Pretty good.
I'm getting all tangled up here.
Tangled up in blue. You know, you were supposed to be here tonight. This was your show. What happened?
Well, what happened is we all got robbed. All the people of the United States of America got robbed out of a terrific fight due to politics. I was scheduled to fight Dan Severn for the title, and I broke my hand during the final fight of the Ultimate. And the boxing commission in New York did not want to allow me to fight. So therefore they canceled the fight, and they canceled the fight there also. So we're all out of a great fight.
Well, Don,
that's unfortunate.
Don, really, was that period of time from December until now enough for that hand to heal? And more importantly, would you have been able to properly prepare for the likes of a Dan Severn?
I don't know if you can ever properly prepare for Dan Severn. Dan's a tremendous athlete. I mean, he's my mentor, and I owe everything there is to owe to Dan.
Well, would you have been able to fight? I mean, was your hand properly healed, or would you be going in there really at risk because it didn't have enough time to heal and you have enough time to train?
Well, I don't know if it was properly healed to fight, but I can carry a dozen donuts like nobody else. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, Don, your thoughts then on the championship bout coming up.
Pardon?
Your thoughts on the Severn Coleman title bout coming up.
This is a tremendous fight. What you have here is two fantastic athletes on the top of their game. And it had all my hopes and prayers are with Dan, of course. You have if Coleman wins, then I get the opportunity for revenge. But like I said, I hope to see Dan win.
All right, you'll get your shot down the road, and Predator, you'll join us for commentary in this one.
I'll try my best.
Here's a look at the tail of the tape for this heavyweight championship unification bout. Mark Coleman, 32, and that's a big, big question mark for Dan Severn at 38, 6 years his senior. Severn is 20 pounds heavier. It's Columbus, Ohio against Coldwater, Michigan, and both guys are wrestlers, well decorated, Jeff, as far as U.S. wrestling is concerned. And here comes Mark Coleman, undefeated in the octagon.
Well, Don, you've seen both of these athletes. How would you break down their striking skill and their grappling ability? Who do you give the edge to?
I would give the edge to Dan Severn in the grappling ability. I'd have to go with Mark as far as the striking ability is because he's a little bit more flexible and can use the strength and that flexibility.
Obviously, both train well. They're both big. They're both strong. Coleman, freestyle wrestler. He obviously has done all forms of wrestling, so he's great at grappling, good on the ground, and obviously he's capable of good strikes. The deciding factor could be stamina. Who would you think owns conditioning?
I think I'd have to give the edge to Dan. Dan's a hard-working athlete, and like I said, I've been around Dan for 14 years. He's been part of my life, and the man works hard.
Add to that the fact Coleman coming off of a virus, edge to Severn.
All right, there's a look at the Coleman camp, including his mom and dad and his girlfriend, Kelly. And here comes the beast, Dan Severn, the winner of the Ultimate 95, UFC 5 champion. And he has not been in the octagon since that victory in the super fight, which was one that both he and Ken Shamrock wished they could reverse. That was UFC 9 in Detroit in May of '96. When Severn won with the majority decision.
That was supposed to be a big battle of skill. It turned out to be more of a battle of wills as the athletes squared off, neither one initiating, trying to draw the other out. Many people felt it was a boring fight, but tactically, each one was testing the other and really trying to break them. And ultimately, in the three big exchanges,
if I had a bicycle and I could travel 10 miles an hour, and a train travels at 50 miles an hour, and I got to travel a 30-minute distance, how many apples does Mary have left in the basket?
Your man. Got a monkey. Okay. Good luck, you fight smart.
I'm not sure what that conversation was about, but Severn and Coleman have made their way into the octagon. This one to decide the ultimate warrior on the planet. For the formal introductions, here's Manny Garcia.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. The main event. SEG Sports Corporation proudly presents a battle of UFC champions. Introducing first and standing to my left, a freestyle wrestler and a member of the 1992 Olympic wrestling team. He is a two-time All-American and National Freestyle Champion, a two-time gold medalist at the Pan Am Games, and a silver medalist at the World Games. 31 years old and fighting out of Columbus, Ohio. Stands 6 foot 1 inch tall and weighs in tonight at 240 pounds, undefeated in the octagon. With a record of 5-0, he is the UFC 10 and UFC 11 champion. Please welcome Mark the Hammer Coleman. His opponent, a Greco-Roman wrestler with over 70 international titles to his credit. He is the 1994 National AAU Greco-Roman Champion in the senior division, the Michigan State Freestyle Champion, and the AAU Sambo World Champion. The 1994 AAU Outstanding Wrestler, 38 years old, standing 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing in tonight at 260 pounds. He fights out of Coldwater, Michigan, with a 9-2 UFC record. He is the UFC 5 champion, the 1995 Ultimate Champion, and the UFC 9 Super Fight Champion. Please welcome Dan the Beast Severn.
15-minute time limit, 2 3-minute overtimes if needed. Coleman undefeated. Severn 9-2. Only losses to Gracie and Shamrock. Here we go. We're underway. 2 master grapplers. How will it unfold? Both guys picking their spots, then quickly, Severn shoots for a leg.
Now Coleman able to stop that leg shot. That was no problem. Dan really didn't set it up too well.
Coleman trying to sink a choke there, Don?
Yes, sir. He's got in deep, and Dan's experience. Dan's got now that.
Whoa. Right hand almost caught him.
And that one did. That right hand scored by Coleman. And a jab from Coleman. Something you don't see much in the UFC. Coleman now on the mount. Had the mount momentarily. Severn rolled quickly.
Yes, Severn deliberately turned to his stomach to avoid being caught because he was in the mount. He was actually mounted by Coleman, who could have rained some blows down, so he quickly turned. This looks like a wrestling match right now.
Yeah, what you have here is 2 fantastic wrestlers, and they've got a wrestling match going, exactly like you say, except a little bit of pounding going on.
Coleman trying to throw a couple of punches to the back of Severn's head.
What Dan needs to do right here is he needs to stand up, put the hips out, get away, come back, attack again.
I think what he's waiting for is a shift of Coleman's weight to give him a direction to go ahead and start that way.
Exactly.
You don't want to just stand up while the man's waiting for you to stand up because you'll get hit. But this is the first time we've really seen this kind of fight between 2 wrestlers where they're actually in what we call the referee's position. And now Severn felt that he couldn't go anywhere there, so he traded for the guard. But Coleman again is in the mount. He is not in the full guard.
And the one thing you have to be very leery of is the punching power of Coleman. Don, if he gets that right hand free, he can really fire.
And he can choke Dan here with this headlock.
He's trying to choke him right out.
You say put the knee in the navel, and that's pushing the chin to the chest. And as we heard earlier for Ken Shamrock, that is a type of choke.
What Dan needs to do now is bring his knees up to shift Coleman's position and roll him over to his back.
And actually, this is good. Coleman is actually using that headlock as a weapon. He's working, doing good.
Yes, he's suffocating Dan against his chest.
And the key here, if you're on the ground, Don, is not to panic, correct?
Correct. You want to stay calm at all times.
And you would think that maybe you could get hit there, but the only portion of Dan Severn's head visible to Coleman is the top, and that's a bare hand going against the skull. And as we've seen at the UFC, that usually results in a broken hand, not a knockout.
Now Severn punching from the ground.
Not a good area to hit.
Those were little rabbit ones trying to get Coleman to move, shift position, and that's it.
Coleman choked him out. And Severn tapped out. And Coleman is on fire. Oh, is he charged up like a caged lion?
Well, he really built that headlock. He waited and waited, and when Severn finally presented his full head, he snaked it up tight, cinched it tight, and drove the chin to the chest, and it was a definite choke.
And there is the mutual respect shown by 2 great American wrestlers, Coleman, the '88 NCAA champion at Ohio State, and Dan Severn, who's won numerous awards over the years, including the 1994 AAU Senior and Masters Greco-Roman and Sambo champion. And there's Kelly, Coleman's girlfriend, celebrating. And Mark Coleman, we've seen him before as a devastating puncher. This time we see him as a devastating wrestler.
Well, I actually felt that Severn might have the advantage with finesse, but we also felt that the shorter fight would go to Coleman, and certainly he lived up to that billing. He caught Severn down, was able to go ahead and work him in that down position, couldn't really hit him and strike him in the mouth, and so he turned to a headlock, and as I said, he cinched it tight and was able to go ahead for the choke. And Don, what was your analysis of that fight? How do you see it? You're next in line against Coleman.
Severn made one minor mistake, and in the UFC, if you make a minor mistake, it's a crucial mistake, and that's all that happened here. Unfortunately, Dan did it, and he lost the title. Now, what happens now is that I'm going to come up in May, and it's my opportunity for revenge.
Well, how do you see, what strategy do you need to beat a big man? Look at the size of that man, Mark Coleman. How are you going to go ahead and approach him, brother?
Well, I'm going to approach him like I approach everybody else. I'm going to let them train for me. I have my game, and I know what's going on.
Early on, it may look like an eye gouge. It's not an eye gouge. Severn just has his hands on the face trying to push it away to create distance. But it was right then that Coleman was able to lift that head up tall. You saw Severn's hand move to the side, and that's when he tapped out. Right here, Severn tried to turn to his belly, and there is when he exposed his head fully, and that's when Coleman cinched it tight.
And Don, I was saying to be patient. When he was on his side, he was being patient. He was still getting a flow of oxygen, and then when he rolled a little bit, that's when he got choked out.
Yes, unfortunately, he rolled to his back. What you need to do is roll over to your side and curl your legs up behind your opponent when he has a headlock on you, and then roll the opponent onto his back.
Right now, let's go to Joe Rogan.
Mark, if we can get a couple words of you, congratulations. Unbelievable, impressive performance.
Thank you.
You're always very proud to represent wrestling. How important was it for you to win the first super fight where two wrestlers meet in the finals?
Very important. I still consider myself a wrestler, and I'm looking to be a world champion in wrestling still. I don't think anybody can take me down, and if they did, nobody can hold me down. I'm going to be around for a long time, and I don't see myself getting beat.
What are your hopes for the future now? Who would you like to challenge next?
I guess Don Fry deserves a rematch if he wants one. Shamrock, whoever they decide.
Congratulations, Mark. Unbelievable fight. Fantastic. Art, they want to bring you in?
Mark, I just want to say that your victory in UFC 10, UFC 11, you've shown a domination that we haven't seen in this sport since the very beginning. You right now are the best reality combat athlete on the planet Earth, and I think the fans know that.
Well, I've known that for a long time, and it's time for me to get some respect out there. I think I earned it tonight.
Mark, how about Tank Abbott? Would you like to see him next?
Yeah, I'd love to fight Tank Abbott. If he wants to fight, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Whoever the fans want to see me fight, I'll fight.
So you are going to be a people's champion?
Definitely. The fans, I do this for them. I got a big following, and it's very important.
Thank you very much, Mark. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Back to you, Bruce.
So Mark Coleman with UFA Commissioner Arthur Davey. You know, he's called it his calling in life, and yet yesterday he told us he'd like to further along his boxing skills. He says he needs to work on other elements, and that's always a great sign of a champion, Don Fry. Good, wanting to always get better.
Exactly. You can always improve in this sport. Whenever you get to the point to where you think that you cannot improve and you've learned enough, well, then it's time to get out.
Well, I agree with what Don had to say there. Don, again, we were talking about you having to face the likes of a Coleman. In particular, do you see any weaknesses that Coleman has? He still claims he's a wrestler, but he knows what he needs to do to train in there. But what do you see as his weakness?
Well, Mark's a great champion. He's proved that 3 times now. And for him to come out and say that he would give me the ability as a rematch, that's what every champion should do. If you defeat somebody, you should have the honor to give them an opportunity and a rematch.
Well, you did lose to him once. How would you change that outcome? What do you need to do differently?
Well, I had a bad night, and like I said before, we all have bad nights. Had to pay a little penance, Jeff. We all have sins to pay.
Well, we've all been on the losing end of that, but I mean, it's strategy-wise, where did you go wrong in the first one that you can improve upon in the second one?
Strategies-wise was that I fought his fight, and I have a bad habit of doing that. Is I'll fight somebody's fight to see if I can beat it. I fought his fight, and I could not win.
Well, Don, we hope you sure train hard enough. You're going to have your hands full with a big man, Mark Coleman, and certainly an undefeated opponent. Do you feel you're capable of delivering the first loss to the Hammer?
I think on any given day, one person can beat the other person. And I think I'm the man who can do the job.
The Predator, Don Fry, the UFC 8 champion, the Ultimate 96 champion. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it.
So we look back at the lightweight tournament where Jerry Bohlander took Nick Sanzo to win the title. It took only 35 seconds. He did it with a choke and a subsequent tap out. The crucifix employed beautifully by Bohlander. He's got his first title. Then the heavyweight tournament. Vitor Belfort in 52 seconds over Scott Ferrozzo. He was the champion. It could be the new wave of greats in the UFC at only 19 years of age. And then we finish things off tonight with the Hammer, Mark Coleman, 259 over Dan Severn for the heavyweight championship. Coleman now a perfect 6-0. So for Jeff Blatnick and Joe Rogan and Manny Garcia and our cast of thousands here in the booth, I'm Bruce Beck. Thanks for joining us. So long from the Dothan Civic Center in Dothan, Alabama. This has been the Ultimate Fighting Championship.